You are now tuned in to Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette, where your host, Annette Harris, analyze intriguing and concerns such as, do Christians suffer from mental illness? Have you wondered why they act abnormal? Or you may ask, what is really going on in their minds? Do you need Annette? Well, keep listening for a biblical understanding of the psychology of the mind.
Hey, great afternoon, and welcome to another wonderful session of Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. And I'm your host, Annette Harris. Thank you in advance for just for watching and or listening on today. It is exciting to be here. But before I get started, I must acknowledge the Lord in prayer. Lord, I thank you for this wonderful day that you have blessed us to see. We thank you for all that you have done, what you're going to do, and what you are doing. We ask you to get the glory out of today's session. In the name of Jesus, we pray. And the opening scripture that I normally like to quote is the first part of Hosea. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. And again, we're grateful to be here on this afternoon. It is another time, another opportunity to come before each and every one of you. And I want to thank you in advance for watching either on my Facebook page, Annette known as Annette, and then also on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and type in Get Caught in ANET, Get Caught in Annette, you will see us there live as well. And of course, we're here at this wonderful radio station, Intellectual Radio. So if you type in intellectualradio.com, you can hear us there as well. And I am so glad to be here with a beautiful guest on this afternoon. I'm going to pull up her information so that I can read it to you. Let's see here. What do I have here? Oh my gosh, this is when I tell you that you're in for a treat on today. You're in for a treat. And I get excited to hear about individuals' journey, their life journey. And as I talked about on my pre-show, um, and this young lady that I'm about to present to you is nothing short of what I've had here before. And you're going to definitely be inspired. Keep that in mind. You're going to be inspired. Oh, goodness. Oh, let me see if I can read all of this because this is quite a bit about Liz Steiner. Did I say it? Can I?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Inspires. She's a speaker, accountability expert, award-winning author, survivor, advocate, entrepreneur, and also a mother. Growing up in an abusive living environment on the south side of Chicago, Liz Steiner developed tough skin and a vivid imagination for change and better days to come. Those days sparked her passion for inspiring, motivating, and empowerment by helping others to use their own pain for a greater purpose. Mm. Steiner uses her own life as a testimony to the endless possibilities that can await you if you're willing to be bold, be healed, be free. And that's just a little glimpse of her bio, okay? Just a little summarization there. But welcome to Mind, Body, and Soul with open arms, if you will, Mind, Body, and Soul style, Steiner Martinez. How are you on this afternoon?
I am great. I am great.
Good. But she knows what to do. She got into the mic. I don't have to tell people to make the mic their friend, but she knows what to do. She is a speaker in her own right. And a speaker, she's going to tell us some things on today. I was kind of looking at, I think it was one of your previous advertisements for one of your other workshops, and I saw you hugging someone, and it was, I don't know if you were ministering to them or what. I'm not sure what it was, but it seems as if you were. It's like you were just taking them, just letting it's going to be all right. I've been through this or whatever. I don't know if that's what you were doing at that point, but that's what I picked up from that picture. But you do workshops. Is that accurate?
So healing is a journey. I have a conference, the quarterly series of conferences, and I just launched the workshops to go with it as well.
Oh, okay, great. All right. Now I just asked her that. I know we're getting a step ahead of ourselves, but I just wanted to know that. Now, when you guys come in again to the live feed, go ahead, like and share, if you would not mind for me. I see you guys coming in, Demetria, Trina, Jeannie. I see Wit is on, and I want to thank Wit for the connection here with myself and Lesteiner. She has been tremendous in getting us together here. We had a date before just to have her come on. It's been a work in progress, but I'm so glad that we were able to finally get you on, succeed. She's a beautiful woman in person, as well as I've seen her on Facebook. Sometimes you see people on Facebook and you think you already know them, or maybe you've already talked to them or something because of the connection, on social media. But this is our first time meeting.
Yes.
And it is definitely a pleasure. So let's see here. I am going to ask my assistant if she would not mind going ahead and sharing this live feed, if you're still on here, Demetria, for me in the various groups, if you wouldn't mind doing that for me. I'm going to share it to our pages. But because we want people to make sure that they know that we're on, and that you can listen today to this wonderful, oh goodness, it's going to be something. I'm going to learn some things. You're going to learn some things. We do want to let you know that you can call in this afternoon if you are able. 708-223-8953. Again, 708-223-8953. I would try to make sure to put that number in the comments section if you are interested in calling in. You may have questions, you may have comments, you may just want to say hi, and you're more than willing to able to do that. You are also encouraged to put your comments, questions, whatever, in the live feed here on Facebook or on YouTube, and we will definitely check it and see if we can, get your questions answered, your comments read. Let's see. Demetria says greetings. Oh, I see you, Beatrice. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. And Tonya Reeves, I believe it is. We appreciate you for watching on this afternoon. Let's see here. I see you. Thanks, guys. Thanks for sharing. I see your comments. Let's get started. Let me ask you to introduce yourself in your way, to my listeners, to my supporters, to tell them who Lesteiner is. And yes, you have a lot to tell. Just in the first few, I'm gonna tell you this before she gets started. Just in the first few pages, and I always tell people a lot of times when I read introductions, when I read forwards, that's what will grab me to continue on. And oh my God, wait, where was that? You talking about your story?
Oh, yes, that was intentional.
And you did it perfectly. I'm telling you, because it grabbed my attention, because what you did, you kind of, summarize, the different points in your life when you face certain things, or when you became aware of what you were dealing with. And I love that, because it was like, it was right there, if I didn't want to read the rest of the book, that was enough right there. But it did make me want to read the rest of the book. So talk to us about Lesteiner in your own words. Introduce yourself and what all you want us to know before we get to talking about the rest of you.
Well, as you started reading my bio, so my name is Lesteiner Martinez, but I actually go by Lesteiner Inspires, which is my writer's name, which is the name of the company that produces Healing is a Journey conferences and workshop series. I am an award-winning author. I am an entrepreneur. I am a healing and recovery accountability coach and expert, as well as an international speaker. And who I am is a little girl who grew up and was able to overcome so much and wanted to inspire the world with her writing, but also wanted the world to know, though, especially those specifically who have gone through abuse and trauma, that there is hope and healing on the other side. There's a life to be lived. And I'm living out my dreams of being able to daily inspire people, to be able to daily live out the purpose that God has created for me. And it all makes sense now. And so I'm just happy to be able to be here, be alive, and to tell the story of I've come from where I'm at now.
Okay. All right. Now, let me ask you a question. Does your name have a meaning?
So I always tell people it means awesome. My biological mother named me. To this day, I don't know what it means, so I just say it means awesome.
Okay, okay. Because the other way that I was pronouncing it, which was inaccurate, okay, I was saying listener. Did I say? Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I said listener earlier, or listener, or whatever. And that's the wrong way to pronounce it. But then if I listen to what I said, you are a listener, and you do you do take time out to hear others, and that I really feel is because of what you've been through yourself. Sometimes you're probably able to point out some things or notice what someone is going through because of what you dealt with yourself.
Yes.
All right. Well, that was a good summarization of yourself. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Let's see. Apostle Hunt, I see you on. Thanks for watching. That is my co-host on Thursday evening. So I appreciate you. Tradana McAllister's on. Lady Iris Reed, we appreciate you. Thanks for watching on this afternoon. You guys, please, when you come in, go ahead and share. Click the share button. I always tell you, it costs you nothing. Just click it, click it, click it. Throw up some hearts and some thumbs up, and then that way we can make sure to get this live feed out to others in case they forgotten that we're on today. So let's see your story. My goodness. And she told me before the show that there is no question, and that I that I cannot ask her. That's what you told me, right?
Nothing's off limits.
Nothing is off limits. All right. So we talked earlier in the pre-show about being transparent and about this platform that I have. I'm grateful for because it allows us to be transparent in the different things that maybe we have come through, we've dealt with, some things that we may be even still dealing with. Too many times we deal with things silently or think we are, and it doesn't necessarily. It's not helping us or the next person. And I also mentioned in my pre-show, it's been in my spirit lately that what you go through is not. It's not for you.
No.
It's not only for you. It's for others. It's for others. And how you come out of it is going to be key. So we're going to talk about that on today. Let's see here. Oh, goodness. Where do I want to start? Now, if you see in front of Miss Martinez, she has about 4 books. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And she already told you she's an award-winning author. And you were actually honored, was it last year?
Yes, at APS.
APS.
Yes.
Okay, Tennille Jackson.
Yes, Neil Jackson.
The awesome award-winning author or inspiration. What? No, international.
International.
Forgive me if you're watching and I didn't get your title correct, but she's awesome. Okay.
She is.
And she did honor her, and I believe that was. Did I come to that one? I didn't come this year. That was last year, right?
2018. Yes, that was the year.
Yes. Yeah, I believe I was there, but I didn't know you then. I didn't know you.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Because I believe that was the same year that was that Dr. Graham. Was that the year Joyce Graham? She came in from St. Louis.
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so.
Because I
the
knew
years
her
have been a blur, but I
yes,
believe so.
Yeah, and I came to support her, but I think I remember you. I think I remember that was the year. Okay. All right. Well, she's here. Well, the one book that I have, it's Rebel Inspired, and it's a poetic journey into awesomeness. And we can talk about this, but then maybe you can kind of give us a glimpse of the other books that you've written as well. But let's start back to talking about Miss Martinez and her journey. You mentioned about you being a coach, and you said, give me the title of that again.
Healing and Recovery Accountability.
Healing and Recovery Accountability Coach. Why that's important to even do?
From my own personal experience, you can't really do things from a place of pain. A lot of times I've discovered and I've seen that people, they set out to do things, they set out to live their life, but there's so much pain and stuff that they haven't either acknowledged, addressed, or tried to push down. And I always give the analogy, imagine trying to build your house on a foundation of like sand. That sand is the pain, the hurt, the abuse, the trauma that you've gone through that you just buried. And then now you're trying to build on it. And the first sign of stress, the first time something happens, that your house is going to be swept away. So therefore, the things that you try to build and plan out, if you haven't addressed those things you've gone through, is is not going to be as successful as it should be, as God wants it to be, because we're always going to have things that might be triggering. We're always going to go through some type of adversity. We're living, so that's part of life, but how you handle it depends on what you've already through.
Yeah.
And so for me, healing is not just like a one-time thing. It is a process. It is a journey. So once you start to heal, we want to recover the things that you've lost in the way of what you've gone through, like your identity, your purpose, your passion, your confidence, your self-esteem. We want to recover that, so then you can start to build from the foundation of stability, those things that you replace the shame and the guilt and the hurt with. And that's accountability. It's holding you accountable. But I'm not gonna tell you what to do. We're gonna work together, but you're gonna do the real work because it's your life.
Love it. And I set you up real good. I wanted to know, and you did that perfectly, actually, because I want you to take us into your journey, what you experienced, because you're able to help somebody else because of what you've been through.
Yes.
And let me say this: I applaud you for what you're doing now. Because too many times, or so many times, should I say, we do go through things, but we don't always come out on top, or we don't always pay it forward like you're doing. You want to help somebody else, okay? Whether they've been through the exact same thing that you have or something similar. And that's why I applaud you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate what you're doing, and I pray you Godspeed in your continual journey for helping someone else. So talk to us about your journey. She said there's no question I couldn't ask her. So take us back as far as you want, and how you basically came to where you are now. What all you experienced, coming along, growing up, and just be as candid as you.
So my disclaimer is I've experienced a lot, probably more than one person should experience. So I will take you back to what I remember, because sometimes when you have experienced trauma, there is some parts that the brain kind of blocks out, so as a protective measure. But I was born to a abusive mom. My mother was emotionally, physically, and sexually abusive. She would lock the refrigerator with locks because she said I ate too much. Now, granted, anybody who knows me now, I love to eat. I just love food. But as a child, to be told that's harsh. I was told that I was evil, that I was the devil's child. I for the most part of my childhood didn't really speak a lot because I just was in fear. I was in fear of going to sleep because I will get woke up with, at that time I called it spankings, but now it's like, no, it was beatings, So that was my childhood up until about 13. I literally lived in fear of my mother. I resented her. I was angry at her. I hated her, all those things. But in the same token, I knew she was my mother, so a part of me loved her, almost like Stockholm syndrome.
Yes.
And so, but I ran away when I got into like 7th, 8th grade because it became too much. I hit puberty and the resistance came in like, this is not normal. I don't want to live here. And so I started running away. First, I started running away to the library. Like, I was such a nerd. So I would run away to the library and just sit there till it closed and read and read and read. And then I started just hanging out with the wrong crowd because they quote unquote accepted me, hanging out with gangbangers and thugs. And at the age of about 13, I got gang raped by like 10 young men, 10 or so. I'm going to put a guesstimate. And that propelled me over into being an alcoholic. I started to drink because I had so much piled on. And I'm like, I gotta find a way to forget about this. On top of that, the very same individuals that did that tried to like beat me up and like threw me through a wall. Mind you, I'm 13. So when I was found eventually by a relative and brought back to my house, at that time, my mother had a case with the school because I was failing. I went from a straight A student to failing. Didn't want to go to school. At the time, I think I was a freshman in at Dunbar High School. I missed like all of my classes because I was never really going to school because I didn't see a point. I didn't feel like I was being seen, heard, or valued. And so I finally was able to get into Lawrence Hall Youth Services, where I was in the group home. and I lived there in the group home for the last part of my youth. And I tell people I was able to, for the last part of my youth, learn how to be a child. I was given hot meals. I was able to be myself. Like I could sleep without worrying about someone like coming in my room. Even though I always, to this day, I still sleep with blankets on me. It could be hot. I cannot not sleep uncovered and exposed. Um, so, but I was able to like, I remember following like the older staff around who knew how to cook and learn how to cook from them because I was just amazed and fascinated. Like, this is what you're supposed to do, you know? And so I excelled. I went to a therapeutic day school, got counseling. Granted, though I had counseling, I never talked about the abuse that my mother did.
Mm.
No one knew about that until I got into counseling as an adult because I was protecting her. Stockholm. I was protecting her because it was like I didn't want to portray her. I was scared of her, but I didn't want to portray her. And so I just lived out the rest of the years in the group home, and then I became pregnant with my oldest son, who's now 23. And I aged out of there and went into Catholic Charities, which was facility. They had a facility, and I believe they still do, for young mothers and children who are like in the water system, even though I was never a water system because I never reported any of the abuse. So it wasn't, there was no, I got into the program because of how severely my grades had dropped and how much I was missing school, which was a godsend because I don't know where I would have been now if I was still home. Granted, during the time of my childhood, I had tried to commit suicide. I was hospitalized in several mental institutions from 7 years old, 12, 13. For suicidal ideations, homicidal ideations. So I like mental health right now is really important to me, but back then it was like I need to get out of here by any means possible. And so I was a very angry, hurt, withdrawn child.
Mm.
So fast forward to my young teenage years where I was now I'm a teenage mother, and I have entered into a abusive relationship with a young man that I just saw this is what not my son's father. It was another gentleman. I thought he was like the world. You know, he had a place and I would come up spend the weekends there and had a makeshift family. But he was abusive. Like if I didn't have sex with him, then he would force it, and it was just, and I denied it because I felt like I deserved this because I wasn't doing what he wanted me to do. Until I realized that this is not okay. And I remember he wanted to move out of state, and I was like, something clicked, and I was like, nah, because you might try to kill me out there.
Wow.
I need to probably not. And I had my son, and that's when I met my ex. I was married. I met him when I left him and went to live with my son's grandmother, who's passed away now, but God rest her soul. She let me live with her for a portion of my young adult life where I was able to raise my son, go to school, kind of experiment what I wanted to do post high school. And then I met my last two children's father, who I married because I was head over heels. I loved him. But that was an emotionally abusive relationship. He wasn't a bad person, but I was in a place where I should have been in any relationship because I had low self-esteem. And since I was always told my entire life that I was crazy, nobody want me and all this, I just assumed that that was just the case. And so here I met someone that actually, you know, I assume or I thought like saw me for who I was and who I am. And I was excited. And so I did whatever. And then the cheating began. And then I was like, okay, I need to fix myself so he can not do this.
Mm.
You know, it's me. I need to fix myself. Maybe if I'm a little less crazy, maybe if I'm a little less emotional, maybe if I, lost some weight or I was more a girly girl or, there were so many what ifs if I did what I needed to do that I couldn't see that it wasn't me. I think the breaking point for me where I realized that I needed to get out of it was my oldest son was about 13 or 14 at the time. And I had took my ex back for like, I don't know, 17, 10 times. I just lost count. He would just get up and leave. He would just go like do what he does. And then I would just take him back because I was afraid of being alone. I thought nobody else would want me. I was too damaged for anyone else to even know how to love me, But when my son came to me one day, my oldest son, and he was like, Mom, why do you keep taking him back? He keeps doing the same thing. And I remember just crying because here I am teaching I have 3 young men, teaching them hold open doors, respect women, don't curse, when you take them out on dates, just teaching them
Right.
how to be young men, and yet not realizing that they're seeing all this. Like, I'm thinking that I'm keeping this from them because I'm going in the room and crying, and then coming out and making sure that they had food and making sure they were good, like they didn't want for anything, protecting them, making sure that they didn't experience abuse. But yeah, they were seeing what I was going through, because your children are affected even when you think you're trying to shelter them. And then I started to realize that he was taking one of my sons with him when he was doing the infidelity. So he's witnessing this and then being told, don't tell your mother. And at this point, I'm like, something has to give, because I'm telling them one thing, they're saying another. This is contradictory. They're going to be confused, and I don't want them to grow up to be the same way.
Now, wait a minute. This is the husband or the relationship?
The husband.
The husband.
So I was married from 99 until I got a divorce maybe 7 years ago. And so I decided to file for a divorce and leave that situation. And that was scary, because I was like, one income, 3 children. What am I, like, I had a job, but it was like, what am I going to do? Like, who's going to take me? Who's going to take care of me? Who's going to want me? Like, all those things went racing through my head. But they're saying when a woman's fed up, or when you had enough, that moment with my son coming to me was the moment I'm like, I can't do this. These are my babies, and I have to do what I have to do. And so I called my best friend. I told her, like, I'm going to file for divorce. Like, I can't. And I told him he had to leave, take his stuff, don't come back, because I'm just tired, And I didn't tell him I was filing for divorce. I just did it because I knew if I told him and he would have been like, I'm going to change, I love you, I would have probably been like, okay. I was like, no, I can't. I have to do this. I don't know what it looks like on the other side, but I have to do this for me and at least give myself a chance. So I filed for divorce, got the divorce, but then I struggled with being promiscuous, because now I'm like, I'm free. I'm gonna do what I want to do, but I don't want to give anybody my heart. So I didn't, thinking I'm protecting myself. In hindsight, I look back, I'm like, that wasn't, but that was my way. Like, okay, I'm like, you can get it, you fine, you can get it too. Like, that's literally.
Wow.
And it was just like, and at some point it clicked, like, don't you want to be loved? And I know that was just God, like, don't you want to experience what real love feels like? And I remember crying, like, I've never felt that from anyone, but besides my children. I'm like, how do I start? And I remember talking to God one day, and I was like, okay, God, if I follow you, if I, do what you say, you're going to have to show me how to have fun your way, because all I know is drinking and having fun and,
Right.
sleeping with this person. I'm going to need to know that being a Christian is not boring. This is me being honest.
Yes.
Because I was just like, I don't know how to be perfect, and I have a lot of baggage, so hello. And the journey to where I'm at now, I mean, God has just shown me, just amazing people, ways to have fun. I've traveled, my children have traveled. So the journey has definitely been a hard one, but it's been worth it, because now I see the value in what I went through. And I realized that it was to get me to this point, to be able to have a profound story, to also testify to the goodness and the glory of God, because I could have very well been dead. I could have, been killed. There's so many things that could have happened to me that God didn't allow to happen. And then in the midst of this, he allowed me to forgive my mother, someone who I was scared of for all of my life,
Right.
even as an adult. I remember this night so vividly. I had a car accident like the year before that could have killed me. Like, it literally, and I was scared for a year to drive. And I remember getting in a car and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to drive just the streets, because I was scared to get on the expressway, because the accident happened on the expressway. I'm laying in bed, minding my business. My biological mother at the time was in a nursing home. My sister was helping her, and I used some connections that I knew to get her into one that was closer to like a doctor I knew, but I didn't like deal with taking care of her, because I just couldn't. Like, I'm like, I can't be in the same space with you. You still scare me. Like, I can't. And mind you, I'm like in my late 20s. And God was like, you need to go to her and forgive her. And I'm like, hello, God is that you? It's like, you gotta be kidding me. And I'm like, okay. And then it starts to snow. I'm like, really? So I'm like looking at the sky, like, so it's snowing. I have to drive in the snow. I still have panic attacks because of the accident. And I got to go forgive this woman who I really don't like. It better be something amazing that's gonna happen after this. Like, it better be a pot of gold at the bottom of her bed. So I'm driving, two hands, was trying to see And it was like that flurry snow, so they kind of like you can't really see through. I'm like, oh. So I get there, and I knew the staff at the nursing home because I used to work there. So they were like, oh, yeah, your mother's here. And I mean, I told them that she was my mother, but I didn't really like go visit her. And then he asked questions. So I went to go see her, and I remember God allowed me to see her for not who she had been to me, but how He saw her as somebody hurting. Like seeing her laying in the bed, she was like probably 78 when she passed away. She had me at a late age, so she had dementia. She had so many different things that like diabetes, a lot of things. But I think the dementia, and the lupus probably combined maybe had took her out. But seeing her laying in that bed, I realized that she could no longer hurt me because I saw her vulnerable, but I also saw someone who had been hurt, and I didn't know her story yet.
And you know what? I'm going to do a cliffhanger right here. I want you to pause that. Put that on pause, because my gosh, this is so much. And I'm going to go and wipe my eyes because I feel like just bawling right now. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to ask my producer to play a little bit of music. I want you guys to stay tuned. Please make sure you are clicking the share button and you are letting someone else know that we are here, Mind, Body, and Soul, here with this beautiful woman of God, Ms. Martinez, Ms. Steiner, and Sis. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Mind, Body, and Soul.
God beside thee, and we stand here and lavish your name.
For you are worthy to be lifted up. Please receive our sincere worship. For you are the mighty God we serve. Oh, the humble plan. What a mighty God we serve. We serve a mighty God, mighty God. Let the angels bow down. Let heaven and earth adore Him, yeah. God we serve. What a mighty God we serve.
The creator of all things, there is no other God beside thee, and we stand here in reverence your name.
Worthy to be lifted up. Please receive our sincere worship. For you are the mighty.
All right. Welcome back. You're listening to Mind, Body, and Soul, and or watching Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. I'm your host, Annette Harris. We're normally on Wednesdays from 12 to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I do appreciate you joining us on this afternoon. We are here with the beautiful Steiner Martinez, and she has been inspiring us by talking about her journey, her life's journey. It is no small thing that she's been discussing, and she's being transparent. She is sharing with us all that she went through, the things that hurt her. It is actually very, very interesting to me. I've been trying to fight back some tears as I've been listening to her on this afternoon. Yolanda Carter says she loves you. You are so amazing, and keep sharing your story. Key, thanks for watching on today. We appreciate you. Thanks for watching. This is my little niece hopping in there. Okay, we are going to go further. I stopped her as she was talking about her journey, and she went back as far as her childhood. There were a lot of questions that were popping in my head as you were talking. Um, and one of which, at the time that we ended before the break, that was part of it. Because as you were mentioning about your mom and how, she treated you, or how you were, um, as you were coming along, and, you said she was kind of mean or whatever. Well, you didn't say that. You said, stuff, whatever. But I was thinking to myself, my thoughts immediately went to your mom. What in God's name has she dealt with herself
Mm.
for her to even treat you like that? There had to have been something.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And that's just how my mind operates, because I'm like, oh my gosh, she shouldn't have done that or whatever. Of course, yes, I'm thinking that, and I do, feel that way. But I'm like, there had been something deeper.
It
There had been
was.
something else going on, whether it was at that time or prior to, her having children or what, I don't know. But there's definitely something that we don't know about, ourselves, listening to your story that your mom had to have dealt with. So I up there because I did a cliffhanger. You were on your way and actually had arrived at the facility that she was at, and you stated that the Lord told you that you need to go and you need to forgive her. So bring us back to that point, and it and can I just say this? It's just amazing to me how, as a child, um, when you go through things like this, and you say you were still trying to protect her and you didn't want to betray her or anything, that was still your mom, although you didn't like how you were being treated. It's babies, our babies. I mean, we have to be careful how we treat our babies. But I'm sorry,
No, I
I'm
apologize.
sorry,
I agree.
did a little sidetrack there. But go back to the when you went to the facility to talk to your mom and really to forgive her for the things that she had taken you through.
So, like I said, when I got there, the Lord allowed me to see her the way He saw her, because God doesn't see us like in the angry state that we might feel like, because, and that's the good thing about God's unconditional love. He sees everything that has gotten that person to that point. I didn't learn about what she gone through until probably a few years ago. My brother started, and my biological sister, but I saw, and God was like, she had been hurt. So she only did what she knew how to do. And so I just felt bad for her in that moment. And I remember crying and just holding her hand and saying, okay, I forgive you for hmm, for all the stuff that you have done to me.
Take your time.
And I hope that you can forgive me for not being the daughter that you wanted.
Mhm.
Because I was angry by the time I left her house. I remember throwing stuff at her because I'm like, I'm tired of you doing stuff to me, and I held that in because I felt like a horrible child. I knew in the Bible says honor thy mother and father, but I really hated her for what she did. So I struggled with like being a bad person for hating her and like
Mhm.
cursing at her and yelling at her. But in hindsight, I was hurt.
Mhm.
So
I believe you.
that's why I did those things. And so God allowed me to forgive her, even to forgive myself. Now that I think about it, forgive myself for feeling like I had failed as a child or as a daughter.
Right.
And I held her hand, I cried, and then I said, I said, I think I told God, I hope she can still get into heaven, or hope, she has accepted you, because I knew that it wasn't her fault,
Yeah.
at that point. And I left, and I remember just stopped crying instantly. It was weird. And I drove home, and I knew that she was like, in my spirit, I knew that she was gonna, like, God has held her there just for that purpose. And so because my biological sister called me like 3 a.m, I already knew what it was for. She was devastated, and she was like, "Mother passed." Well, she calls her mom. I call her mother. And I'll explain why.
Okay.
And I said, "Oh, okay," but I knew already, and I was just like, I'll let me know the arrangements, and I'll be there. And that that ended that chapter of the pain for me. But the weird thing is, at the funeral, I remember like walking to the coffin, like touching her face, like to make sure she was like, it was weird because I was like, okay, she is okay, like taking that deep breath, like, and my sister was devastated. I didn't understand, but like a part of me did, like that was her mother, you know. I was more relieved,
Okay.
like, okay, I can breathe now.
That part is over.
Right. Not that I was happy she was there, but just I can breathe. And so I honestly believe that had I not did what God said, I don't think I would be able to talk about healing and recovery. I would still have resentment, and I would still have doubts and anger. And so I thank God that I was even that time, I wasn't really sold on Christ like I am now, but I knew enough to and go and do that. So that's ironic because that same year was the year, probably that following year, I decided to leave my ex and file for divorce.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You were getting free all the way around.
Yes.
Wow.
That is, oh my God, that is so amazing to me. It is amazing. And you said something that was key there. You asked her to forgive you, but then you had to forgive yourself as well.
Yes.
Because of all the things that have been implanted in your mind and had, down through the years about you yourself, you had to forgive you.
Yes.
And I'm grateful. I'm just not meeting you, but I'm grateful that all of that happened for you. And yes, I totally agree. You would not be able to minister to others like you're doing now. That picture I talked about at the beginning, just hugging that person and just, almost like it's going to be all right. Release it. You couldn't do that.
No.
Not withholding anything in. And it goes back, guys, to what I said. What you go through is not just for you. It's not just for you. It's for others so that we can move forward. My sister has joined us on this afternoon, and she messaged me before she even walked in the door and said that she was listening to this young woman. And you think I cry quick? This one over here.
And that hasn't always been the case. It's almost like maybe the last 10, 15 years, the older I get. And it's not that I was not sensitive as a youngster, but once you get to a certain point in life and you kind of look back, not only where you've come from, but everything that you've gone through, and then you learn to appreciate others' journeys, like yours.
Yes.
Like I told you when I first came in, I've never met you before in my life, but I thank God for you, and I thank God for your journey, and I thank God because even what I heard, I've never gone through anything that you've gone through, but I appreciate your forthrightness, and like Annette was saying, you had to get to a place. There were 2 closures that day, when right before your mom passed and when she passed. And the first one was you forgiving her for, everything that she had done to you, which had an effect on how, your life turned out even up until that point. And the second closure was you loving and forgiving yourself. That's amazing because you needed that closure. And I understand what you're saying. I've never been through it before, but I understand what you're saying when you said, I went up to the casket and I was like, okay, well, yeah, she's dead. And not that you were glad that she was gone, but that provided closure for, a number of horrible chapters in your life. You cannot know how much I appreciate your sitting here because it takes a lot.
It does.
It takes a lot to even admit that you've gone through all of this. And I thank God for your ministry and being able to do this because it is going to help so many people. And it already has. I'm not saying just somebody, but so many people. And then it helps me and it helps Annette, even though we haven't gone through that, because we're grateful. We're grateful that you survived and you are phenomenal. And I was telling her when I was hugging her, I just felt led to hug her. And I was telling her, oh my God, you are just so beautiful.
She really is.
I mean, because sometimes you think, oh my God, honestly, you do not look like what you've been through. I mean, you look like my beautiful sister.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? So I'm thinking, oh my God, so for God to preserve you like this and give you this testimony, Girl, you are blessed. You are blessed. So thank you so
Yes.
much for.
Thank you. Thank you. Darcy is on. Thanks for watching. Yolanda is just blowing this the
I love
comments.
Rihanna.
She's a sweetheart. But she's got a great testimony herself. Yeah, Wit is watching. I think I mentioned that already. Deborah Jones Riddle and Essie Maurice. How are you? Our salad dressing person. You guys can do a little plug. Go to what is it? Mariano's and Whole
Whole
Foods, right?
Foods, yeah.
That's
yes.
right. Go, pick up a few bottles. All right. Apostle says that's God's grace. I agree, Apostle. That
yes.
is God's grace. All that she has told us about and just taking her time to talk about it. Gwen, I was thinking about how we, of course, in the African American community, so many things we deal with. We push things under the rug, if you will, under the table. We don't want to talk about it. We're ashamed
Or we're too proud.
or too
Yes.
proud to
Mhm.
discuss it. And it can hurt us and it can hurt others as well.
Yes.
You mentioned, LaSteiner, about your son, that being the breaking point for you to get out of that bad marriage that you were in, him coming to you. Mom, why are you constantly taking him back? Seemed like that was your aha moment, okay, as you stated it. Prior to that, were you dealing with being too proud to talk about it or ashamed of what you were dealing with, or was it just a normal for you at that point, just dealing with what was being given to you?
So, it's interesting because emotional abuse isn't always talked about or seen. It wasn't until I started realizing I was a survivor that I was like, oh wait, that was emotional abuse relationship. But it, in a weird way, had become the norm because everyone knew he was cheating. It wasn't like it was a secret. I've met a lot of the mistresses. It was just kind of like, okay, it wasn't a secret. And unfortunately, I accepted it because I was like, okay, well, as long as he comes home, the children, are taken care of. That's the lie that the enemy tells you. That's the lie of shame and hurt in the past, rejection that, because I had been rejected from birth. So I'm like, oh, well, as long as he, comes back home, as long as he's paying the bills, as long as take care of the kids. But I was just dying inside because I'm trying to be something so he could stop. I'm believing the lies and the manipulation. So then that's rejection on top of rejection.
Yes.
And so it had become a norm because I just truly believe that no one else would want to be with me because I had so much wrong with me.
Right.
Like,
Totally.
exactly, which we know is a lie.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Let's see here. Wit says, "Oh, okay. Thanks for putting that up, Wit. We appreciate you." Yeah, and I was wondering. I mean, so it sounded like it was a combination of the two. You were used to, what you had been dealt, whatever, and the shame and all of what you were dealing with. I am so grateful for your son, and I'm not sure. I'm sure probably you've talked to him, about his role in that. I'm grateful that he was able to come to you and say, "Mom, okay." And then I wonder how long did it take him to say anything?
My oldest son, he's just so no nonsense. Like, they used to have like conferences in their rooms about me. Like I remember when I separated and filed for divorce, and for a while, like I would never bring any guys around them. And so I remember they pulled me to the side, like, so we had a discussion, Mom, and it's okay if, you like girls now, because of what happened. I'm like, what? Why would you say that? Well, we never see you with any guys. And I was just like, oh, okay. So that's the type of that's the type of young man he is. And he, he's married now and he's in the Navy, but he's always been kind of candid and frank and expressed how he felt. Okay. So he might have like had a conversation with his brother, like, I'm gonna be the one to say something to Mom because I'm tired of this. I'm pretty sure he probably said that at the age of 13.
Right. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I'm grateful, and I tell him, and I even set them down, especially my two oldest, because they saw a lot more of what happened as opposed to my youngest, who's 15 now. I apologize to them for allowing them to see so much and exposing them to things that they shouldn't have been exposed to,
Right.
and letting them know that that's not how a man treats a woman. And though I, accepted that, it's not okay.
Right.
I even threatened them like, you better not treat them like that because I will find you. Like,
I know that's right.
but yeah, I had to apologize because I was also emotionally detached because of what I was going through. I just wanted to protect them, make sure they had food, roof over their head. But I was emotionally detached because I was trying so hard to
Make sure they had what they needed.
right and survive, so
Yes.
to speak.
Right.
Wow.
Are you going to say something?
Yeah, you know what? The irony is, I guess, in listening to you speak, and Annette was saying, well, was it your norm? And in essence, you said yes. And I guess the irony is that's the norm of a lot of people.
Yes.
A lot of people, unfortunately. And it's not that anybody else is any better than anyone else, but it's almost like, that had to be your journey, your specific journey, and your children had to be here. So it's almost like it had to happen for you to get to this point. And, I thank God for your obedience to him because it didn't have to turn out like it did.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Your son is in the Navy. Obviously, you did a wonderful job. And you were woman enough to say to those young men, this is not how it's supposed to be. And I apologize to you. It was a long way. While we absolutely positively hate that they had to go through it, but they see the other side now.
Yes.
They know what to avoid, what pitfalls or, what, those personalities, those traits are, so they can say, okay, hey, you know what? No. Even though that was my dad, or even though this was, the buck stops here.
Yes.
Oh my God, that is just incredible. I know I keep making statements, but I do have a question for you because you mentioned a little bit earlier about how you weren't in tune with Christ the way you are now. How did you come to know him?
Yes, that was my question.
So, how they say he goes for that one. He leaves the 99 and goes for the one.
Yeah.
I feel like he just was like, okay, enough is enough. Let me just get my child. Because I knew of God. Like I talked to, even when I was going through my abuse as a child, I remember being 4, 5, 6 years old, sitting there like, okay, God, this woman is crazy. You know that, right? I do not belong here. Like having these candid conversations with God. And writing in my journals, which have produced books that I would write, dear God. And I would that's how I always started my journals off. So I knew of God because my biological mother, all she played was church music. She had pictures of like Christ everywhere. It was just hypocritical to me because I was like,
that's what I figured.
Yeah. So who's this God you serve? That so I struggled back and forth because I was like, that was your child. She said she knew you, but what's, and so it took me, I had my struggles where I would go to church and I'd be like, nah, I don't fit in. I just had sex last night. I just got drunk. Like I was like, nah, I can't do this because I need to wait till I get right. That misconception. And I was just like, no, I can't. I'm not perfect yet. I still struggle. I still want to fight people. And, I just struggled a lot. So it was about 3 years ago. I remember. So my best sister friend's a pastor. And I remember when God called her into pastoral, and I remember sitting with her crying like, oh my God, I can't be your friend anymore. And she's like, we laugh now. I was crying for real. And she's like, we were sitting on her couch and said, why is it? Because I'm just not right. Like I'm a heathen and you're about to be like almighty and the Lord's going to call you into churches and I'm just going to walk into the church and it's going to set on fire. And she's like, what? I'm like, oh man, like I was devastated. I said, well, can you ask God, can we still be friends? Because you're my best friend. I cried because I just knew that God was gonna we couldn't be friends because now she was going into the church and I was like, I don't want to go to church every Sunday. Not what God called me to do. But God, because when she set up her church, I am very OCD. I have attention to detail. And so she's like, come help me set up this, and this. I'm like, sure. It's my best friend. I love you. I'll come do it.
Mhm.
That was a setup by the Lord, first of all. Because
Wow.
I would come and I would help her set up stuff, and I would help her, like, organize, because that was me. I was always organized. And then I found I'll be in the church every Sunday making sure everything was, like, perfectly set up, and I'm still there now. Yeah.
Wow.
So I helped her set up,
See?
and I'm like, I'm only gonna help you for a year because God did not call me to ministry. I'm gonna go home and have a drink right now, like literally. I'm being honest. You said be transparent, right?
I love it, girl.
And I struggled, so I got out the church for a minute because then she went on sabbatical, which God used that to bring me to Him closer, because she went on sabbatical. And I'm like, oh, I got a break, right? But then I had my coworker, who, God rest her soul, who was gifted in prophetic. And one day I was listening to something, and she said, I'm minding my business. I was her manager, and she was working. She was like, you know of God, but you don't really know God.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, you talking to? Like, I said, what do you mean? And so she started explaining to me, and I love knowledge, and I love, like, superhero movies, right? So she started to explain, like, the power of God, and she started to, like, teach me stuff. I'm like, oh, so Jesus is like a superhero, huh? It's like, yeah. She started explaining about the goods, and I wanted to learn more.
Wow.
So she directed me to watch this YouTube, Dr. Matthew Stevenson.
Okay.
And I started watching him on YouTube, and I'm like, what he talking about is interesting. He was talking about, I think at the time he was talking about deliverance and then demons and casting out. And I'm like, oh, so that's real, huh? Interesting. And so I went to his church because I found what he was teaching interesting. In my mind, I'm like, this sounds like some superhero stuff. Let me learn more about it. And so I went to his church, and, like, I was first of all intrigued. People had on jeans and t-shirts. And I'm like, I can just dress how I don't have to. Okay, like, literally come as you are. Every different color hair. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Because, like, I mean, my hair, I've had pink, purple, I've had every color hair. And so I was just like, I can just sit and learn. And I learned I joined and I learned. And I started to really understand the word of God for myself. But then I felt the presence of God for the first time ever. I was on my back porch. It was like May. And I was reading and I'm talking to God. I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. I'm learning more about you. And writing this in my journal. And I felt this warm, tingly. That's how I feel. That's how I describe it. I'm like, what's happening? Mind you, it was like hot summer. So I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, I'm not drinking. I had coffee. What is this? And I knew in that instant, I'm like, oh my God, like, God is real. This is so cool. And so I haven't turned back since. I'm like, okay, I'm sold out. Jesus, you got me. I ain't going nowhere. And so for that year, while my best friend was in sabbatical, I was, like, going faithfully to church. And then when she came out of sabbatical, then I started to actually work intentionally in ministry. I became the creative director behind the scenes. So, I mean, I'm not going nowhere now. Like, I'm just sold out. And I've learned that it's a process and a journey, because I don't have to be perfect. I tell people, like, my disclaimer is I still curse a little bit every now and then. Like, I still get upset, but I love the Lord. I make sure I'm intentional. I have conversations with Him. I have a relationship with Him. And I don't try to sell people on being perfect. He loves you as you are. He loved me. And when I realized that He loved me in spite of everything that I had done, like stuff that I was intentionally doing to self-sabotage myself, I remember crying like, oh my God, you was there when I did that? Ooh, I'm sorry, Lord.
Right. You start thinking back.
Right. I'm like, as a parent, I would have, like, whooped my butt. Like, and then took you out the wheel. Like, wait a minute. Right. So that was phenomenal. Yes.
Oh my goodness. I'm laughing here. Demetra says, she says she still wants to fight people. She said, I do too. You got to pray for D.
I'm right there with you. Still. God has to work on me too. Still.
He has to work on all of us, and that's what we have to keep in mind. Exactly.
Amen. We're not
working
perfect.
towards perfection.
That's right.
David Franklin, I see you, big brother, and Buddy Gill. And Kamitra's Hunt is on. Thanks for watching on today. I've been made aware that there's a watch party that is actually has been started on today's live feed. So if you're making comments over there, I can't see it, so forgive me. But I appreciate you for watching and joining us on today. I'm not sure if maybe Whit started the watch party. So if you see any comments or questions over there, go ahead and direct them here to this live feed if you wouldn't mind with, and that way I can address them if need be. If you're just not joining us, I am joined here by a wonderful woman of God, author, speaker. She's renowned. She is Lesteiner Martinez. Lesteiner Inspires, and she has a story to tell about her journey. I want to. Let me see how I want to do this. I want to go into discussing about you're taking it back to your mom, and I know you were saying there were some things that you found out. As much as you want to share about that, if you're able to, I want to talk about that. But before we do that, I want to take a quick break. Is that okay, my producer? Take a quick break, play a little bit of music. We'll come back, okay? Don't go anywhere, guys. Go ahead, click the share button. Click the share button. Let someone else know that we are on. You listen to Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette right here on Intellectual Radio.
I've made up my mind that it's my time to press on towards the mark that God has for me. I've wiped away my tears and thrown away some fears. I'm standing strong and moving on to what God has for me. For the race is not given to the swift. No, it's not given to the strong, not even to the bold, but to the one who can hold on. Whoa, you gotta keep moving. You gotta keep pressing on towards the mark God is giving you. That God is giving you. Ooh, you gotta keep moving. You gotta keep moving. You gotta keep pressing on towards the mark that God is giving you. That God has given you. For the race is not given. Ooh, no, it's not given. Not even to the, but to the one who can hold on. Hold on. Keep moving.
All right, all right. Welcome back. Welcome back. Hopefully you didn't go anywhere. You're listening to Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. We're here on Intellectual Radio. I'm joined by two beautiful women. I'm talking to Lesteiner Martinez. Lesteiner Inspires. And my sister has joined me on this afternoon to help facilitate today's interview. And I do appreciate you for being here also. I appreciate you listeners, you watchers, you viewers, you those that are, you're just there for us. We thank you on this afternoon. Okay, I am going to ask you to go back to the question I asked before the break. And okay, I see your comments there. All right, go back to the question I asked you before the break about your mom, because we started talking about your mom after you mentioned how the Lord instructed you to go and forgive her. You had to forgive yourself. And I mentioned that there had to have been something that was going on with mom for that would, dictate the treatment of yourself. But were you the only one that she treated like that?
No, my brothers and sisters experienced it, but they're like 20, 30 years older than me.
Gotcha.
So I was the only one that lived with her at the time.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So let's talk about mom, because like I said, I knew that there had to have been something else that was much deeper than the eye could see that had to happen with her.
So generational curses. It started with her mother, who was my grandmother. I talked to my grandmother maybe once or twice on the phone. So I've never really met any of my other family besides my brother and sister. But my brother, once after my mother passed, I remember like maybe the week or so after the funeral, we were sitting around. He started to talk about what she went through and sharing, like, he also, because I just knew that like she just hated me. I'm like, y'all didn't come save me. Like, you knew she was crazy, like, and y'all let me like live with her. And they were like, my brother was like, I tried to come get you, but she presented well, which she did, because everyone thought she was just a sweet little old lady. All the neighbors loved her. Go figure. But her mother was abusive to her, like yelled at her. From what I understood, that she was actually put in the bed like with her dad a lot. So we're talking about incest, molestation. I'm pretty sure that affected how she perceived the world. And I don't know how extensive, but from what I'm understanding, like that just was the norm. Like fathers slept with children and uncles, so it just like this horribleness. It begat each other, and so I know my brothers and sisters, they dealt with some mental illness stuff, just from the residual side effects of it. And so I've been blessed where I can say that I'm healed and healing. But I feel for like those that aren't, or who are still struggling with like the anger and the resentment, because I mean she was very mean. My brother, I think he said he took the brunt of it when he was younger, because even when he talks about it, I can still sense the pain
Wow.
of how she treated him. Like I would refer to her as being evil, he would agree. And so, but I know that it was because how she was treated. I can't imagine I can't actually imagine like if your mother is beating you, but then your father's also doing things sexual to you. That's a double whammy, both parents.
Exactly.
So, but like I said, I didn't come to understand that probably maybe to the beginnings of that, the weeks after she passed, and then over the last several years, my brother has been sharing more and more, and then my sister, every now and then she will share bits and pieces of stuff, but then she would always say, "Well, that's all she knew because it was done to her." So, and I get it now, and I like I said, I've forgiven her, but it doesn't take from the fact that generational curses, if it did not stop, it will pass on.
That's right.
And you mentioned you saw a picture of me hugging. I hated hugs because when someone would touch me, my skin I could feel the burning sensation in my skin.
Wow.
I could literally be like, oh my God, why are you touching me? Like even my children, I didn't want to hug them because I would feel that burning sensation. I was also scared of possibly abusing them because of what I had experienced. I was like, I'm just gonna pat you on the back. I didn't know, I didn't understand that is just I don't know how to explain this. I was afraid that I would become her so much that I didn't want to do things that would probably spark something that she had done.
Good.
Right.
Yeah.
But now I hug people all the time.
Oh, wow, and I didn't even know that, but I asked for a hug when I came.
You sure did.
Whoa.
You sure did. You sure did.
And I have a question for you. Do you think your siblings have forgiven your mom? Have they ever talked about that?
I don't think they have.
Okay.
I don't. I know my brother struggles a lot. But I don't think they have.
Gotcha.
I have a brother I've never really met, and he kind of as soon as he was able to leave home, he never came back.
Oh wow.
So that says a lot.
Yes,
He
it
just never
does.
came back. He didn't even come up for the funeral. So I've never met him.
Oh wow.
So I don't think they have.
Yeah. And it's hard. Everybody takes things differently. They deal with stuff in such a different way. How I may deal with something, my sister may not deal with it the same way. And we could have come up and experienced similar things or something like that. But everybody takes things differently. Everybody takes death differently.
Mhm.
So that's understandable. But I'm sure that however the Lord leads you, you can be a catalyst or be able to help your siblings through as well. I'm praying to that avail.
Yes.
Because that definitely needs to happen with them, as well. Forgive themselves, forgiving her, even though she's gone on. There still can be a release there,
Absolutely.
as well. But and it's not strange that you didn't want to hug, you didn't want to do that, because you weren't taught that, whether directly or indirectly. You just weren't taught it.
And then
So-
that fear. So you cut off the emotion and the affection because you did not want to be, like your mom or like your grandparents. You know what I mean? So I understand that logic. I understand, okay, well, you know what? No, I don't want to go into that. So just like you said, I'll just pat you on the back. I'll just do something simple. And yeah, they lacked, your children then, but I know you're more than making up for it now. I'm quite sure.
Yeah, I mean, especially my youngest. I always say God used my youngest to break that, because my youngest son, he's 15, he like, come here, give me a hug. You look sad. I'm hungry, maybe, but he was always a hugger. Even my middle son, who's 21, was always like, he'll come like, Mom, are you okay? But my youngest son was really God used to break that from me, because he would just hug me, and he was just like so like lovable. Like, even his brothers always, he was just that child. Like, and
Oh.
so it got used that, because I could not push my son. Like, oh, stop hugging me. I was standing there like, okay, 1, 2, 3. Like
I'm just gonna be over.
Right. Countdown. Counting like you're still here. But now, he hugs me if I'm sad. He hugs me when I'm hungry. He just hugs me all the time. And they all do that. And so I enjoy hugging them.
She
'cause-
say when I'm hungry.
yeah, I get a little testy when I'm hungry.
Do you really?
I do.
We discover we're foodies. We love food. We love food. But no, that's good stuff right there. Well, let's start talking about your books. Obviously, you have been journaling. You mentioned that a few times in your conversation of today about how you would just journal. Is that how the books came about?
Yes, especially the first book. So the first one, the one that won the award, is a collection of poems that I had written throughout different journals, that literally I wrote them in the moments of when I was going through certain things or how I felt about certain experiences. And the timeline that's in the front of it is the timeline that takes you through, and it's almost like the table of contents for the poems that are inside, to take you through literally the journey of the abuse I've experienced. And then you get to the end, like the last few points, which shows you where I'm going through the healing process, and I've learned about Christ, and I'm like elevating myself. And so they will derive from journals. And these 3 are actually somewhat from journals, because I'm always writing and I'm always creating. So whether I'm writing in my journal or just typing stuff up in notes somewhere, is they're a collection of things that I thought about, like how would it look like to, like, what would the perfect life or the great life look like for someone that perhaps is trying to get past certain things. And so these are actually a series of books, these 3, and then the 4th one is coming out in December.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Journaling.
As soon as I learned how to write.
So was that a release for you?
It was.
Did it take you away?
It did.
What advice would you give somebody at that age, at 6, 7, 8, 9, that might be going through something similar, or something that we would of course deem catastrophic? What advice would you give them, to kind of help them along right now?
Creativity is a powerful thing. If you can get you a notebook, 39 cents, 99 cents from dollar store, and even if you only write a few words expressing how you feel. Sometimes I used to doodle and sketch and make like pictures, and I actually do draw, but I don't do it anymore. But I would just like draw it out, maybe color it. However, just to get it out of your head, because I think that really helped me a lot, being able to just write it out, because I couldn't share it with the world at that time, because I was ashamed. I didn't understand what it was. But if it's in your head, it continues to stay there, and then stuff keeps happening, you can burst. It could be an outburst. That's how you see so much anger now, because it's been held in. So even if you just write it and then ball up and throw it away, no one ever sees it, but you're releasing it from yourself.
Perfect question, because that's what I was going to ask her. We're right there, sister. Because obviously that was your release. That was your way of dealing with what you were going through. Did you do a lot of the throwaways?
No.
Write it down and throw it, or did you just keep everything?
I kept that. There's some that I've probably lost, like in moving.
Okay.
But I kept. I've told it all in all of my journals. I told the kids, like, I'm gonna just put this in a box, and you guys can like do what you want, but it'll be worth. I always say, like, it'll be worth millions of dollars when I'm gone. So take care of it. But yeah, I didn't really throw away too much.
Okay. Now, did you keep it private?
As far as like,
when you were writing your journals, would you like keep it somewhere?
Oh yeah, I hid it very well. It will be in like my book bag with the rest of my school stuff, or hidden in like a closet behind other stuff. I never left it out for anyone to see. No.
Okay. All right. And sometimes we want to be, keep our thoughts to ourselves. Brandy says here, God knows who to use to get us delivered, and our babies are often the best choice.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with that. As you were going through, as you were dealing with, because I know you mentioned about being in and out of institutions. You acted out basically when you were younger. What was your mom's reaction to any of that?
Um, it was always my fault. I remember like when I ran away and I came back and she like set me by the front door and like wouldn't let me like use the bathroom or do anything because she was like, you're out there doing all this stuff with those evil people, and it's like I just wanted to get away from you, but okay. And I wasn't really doing like drugs. I mean, I smoked weed, but my poison of choice was alcohol, and so she what I was doing confirmed what she always said I was. Like, oh, you're evil, so I told you. And even when I got raped, she was like, it was your fault, you should have been out there. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, and so I just chalked it up as that's what happens when you're out in the streets.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of, the institutions, whether it was schools or homes or what have you, and you mentioned a little bit earlier about being out there and hanging with the wrong people and getting gang raped. Go back to the system. What would you change about the system? What would you change about the schools that you ended up at? Even as a youngster. I think I read in one of an excerpt that there was a therapeutic school. What would you change about things like that, or systems or entities like that, to better deal with young people who've gone through things that you've gone through?
Well, for Lawrence Hall Youth Service, I actually go back and help out with them a lot because they were the catalyst for me understanding that there wasn't anything wrong with me.
Wonderful.
And showing me like how to pull out my skills. So like I painted a painting that traveled around the world. So for them, they always have been in tune with the needs of the ones that are abused. I think right now for the school systems, it's like the quiet ones try to find out why they're not talking, because I didn't have any physical like signs of any abuse.
Right.
I mean, stuff like I would have stuff behind my legs, but I thought it was normal to get like whooped in the middle of the night with an extension cord. So and like I said, I never showed anything, and I was quiet. So, just pay attention to the ones that are quiet. Like if I go to certain places and I'm talking to kids, I'm always drawn to the ones that are really quiet because it's like you have a voice. Like, why aren't you really using it?
Right.
And I think paying attention to the ones that are quiet. Even my children say get on their nerves because when they were younger, if they were quiet, I'm like, "Are you okay? What's going on? Talk to me, Mom. I'm fine. Are you sure?" Like because I always wanted them to know, like, you can use your voice.
Yes.
Even if I did something to hurt your feelings, as long as you're respectful, just tell me, we can talk about it. So being able to pay attention to the ones that don't say anything.
Gotcha.
And if you see a drastic shift in behavior, try to find out what's going on. I think now it's probably much better than it was then, because we're more informed on certain things. So I'm assuming that I'm gonna just assume back then that how I was presented, how I carried myself, I probably, and even to this day, even when I was going through stuff as an adult, you would never tell because I just didn't show the pain externally. So being able to even having certain social emotional learning trainings, because trauma and abuse and the residual side effects are deep.
Yes.
And that quiet child that all of a sudden just punched somebody in the face they had stuff building up.
Yeah.
So understanding that and not be so quick to, there should be repercussions for that, but let's find out why. When I see a lot of people act out, even when we see our youth out here in the streets and we automatically assume that they're bad, I always tell people I don't believe that any child is born bad. I believe that the circumstances and environment that they are in causes them to react a certain way. If you're produced in love, if you're loved on, you might go astray and act like you don't have some sense every now and then, but there's gonna be a different way and vibe of how you move.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree. So, and I thank God. I thank God for Lawrence Hall, where you're concerned. Now, do you think that there should have been, or even should be today, a little bit more emphasis on counseling?
Yes, especially in our communities. I mean, I
Part
still
of what the teachers was talking about too, right? But go ahead.
it should be. I feel like instead of this throwing pills at it or trying to throw them into the correctional system. Let's find out like what's really going on with them. I mean, granted, yeah, if they committed a severe crime, but then there should be something therapeutic always going on. There's so many ways you can have counseling and therapeutic art, therapeutic music, therapeutic something a way for them to express themselves, because some people maybe aren't talkers. Maybe they want to express themselves through writing, through poetry, through painting, abstract art, through building. You know, creativity is like I'm a big believer in that. So counseling is so important because it gives someone that's neutral a way to pull things out of them that maybe they're afraid to talk about to their family, to their friends. They're afraid of being judged. And learning how to also pair up these youth with the counselor they can identify with, because then sometimes if you say if you can identify with them, then you're more likely to want to talk to them because you feel like, okay, maybe you understand a little bit. You know, you're not just here because you want to get a check.
Exactly.
Right.
Wow, that's true.
Good stuff. Thank you for those questions. Elise, I see you on. Thanks for watching. Okay, so I only have the one book. I didn't know you had all these 50 million books.
Tell her she's got to buy the
that
others.
she's written. I didn't know that you had written other books, but this is, I mean, in listening to you and your journey, I can understand why other books were written. So which book was the first one?
The Rebel Inspired's first book.
Oh,
So
okay, the
you
one
have
I
the
had.
original. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm at the beginning. All right, that's good stuff. All right, and then you went on, and so the other three you said were the series?
They're a series. So they fall under the Healing is a Journey series.
Okay.
So I have the conference, I have the workshops, and the books. So each conference has a coinciding title for each book.
Got it. All right.
So this one talks about happiness. So this is the beginning stages of forgiveness. Forgiveness is the beginning stages of your healing. So it takes you through a step process of how do you do that. And they're all short for a reason because people have short attention spans.
Yes.
And so if you look at a lot of my books, they have big letters, they're colorful. I want to capture your attention so you can continue to read, but then there's spaces for you to journal because you might see something and you might, oh, let me write this down. Let's spark something. And so the second one talks about fear because even for me, when you've gone through trauma and abuse, there's a certain level of fear, and it's usually rooted in like you're afraid of something that might happen. Like I was afraid of driving when I had an accident, and so if a car drove past real fast, I'm like, oh Lord, I had anxiety. So learning how to face those fears and how to push through it, even if you are afraid. Because I would say like, yeah, I'm afraid to speak, but I'm gonna do it because God told me to, and I say that as a testimony that God called me to be a speaker, but I was trying to run like, no, I'm going to just go ahead and write. But now I do it because it's intentional. So facing that fear every time I open my mouth, knowing that God is going to honor what I'm doing because I'm facing that fear. I'm speaking about it. I'm doing it. And then the last one is, the third one is talking about purpose and identity, because I feel like once you start to forgive, once you face your fears, now you can get to who are you really, because you're breaking away the things you thought you were to try to understand who you really are in Christ. And so now once you become a powerful person when you know who you are,
Right.
and you're able to understand why you've gone through and why God has positioned you or put you on the earth, then you can go to the last one, which is Dreams and Goals, which will be released next month. We're in November, right?
Yes.
Yeah, next month.
All right.
Wonderful.
So you get this stuff all laid out.
Now you're doing the workshops and the seminars, which I believe bigger or biggest audience is probably maybe the church, maybe some schools, maybe higher institutions of learning. Do you think that sharing your journey, sharing your journals, sharing your books, sharing your experiences would do well in a corporate audience?
I believe
or
so.
Workplace?
So I'm a big believer in dreaming big. And I dream. I always say, like, look, okay, God, you see what I need for this, right? So I'm gonna need you to make this happen. And so I look at it like everyone has experienced some type of trauma, some type of abuse. Maybe not so much abuse, but trauma. It could be environmental. Because if you live in a certain neighborhood and you're constantly seeing certain things that trigger, that's environmental. Maybe you're in a workplace that is not conducive to you working properly because of maybe you're stressed, you're overworked, right? So in corporate, bringing up it could be because they come into 4 different series, right? So we're talking about like the forgiveness, we're talking about the fear, we're talking about the purpose and identity, we're talking about the dreams and goals. All of that makes up for one journey. And all that makes up for one person. So
Yes.
if a person is not performing well, if maybe you're trying to get your staff to perform on a higher level, but you don't know how to relate to them because maybe you don't know they have to take 3-4 buses. They gotta wait till the daycare to open drop their child off. Maybe they are at home with an abusive spouse. You don't know these things. You're just thinking they're performing badly because they don't want to work.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to understand that process and bringing something like that to the corporate setting
Mhm.
will produce a greater chance of them performing better, because now they can work on themselves internally,
Mhm.
and what you produce externally comes from the inside.
I
So they're working on the inside
Perfect.
out.
totally,
Perfect.
totally agree. Absolutely. Thank you so much for answering
You're
that.
welcome.
I would definitely hire her for my corporation to come in and help get my employees together. That's good stuff. Good stuff. You know, I am looking here at the first book. In your acknowledgments, you mentioned about the turning point for you to even start doing what you're doing now. Was when I believe it was Lawrence Hall
Yes.
asked you to come and speak.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go there, because obviously that was before the books,
Yes.
it was before the conferences and your workshops that are coming up. Let's talk about that, because I mean obviously that was another aha moment for you.
That was a big aha moment.
Okay, talk to us about when you went to go and talk with them. You know, have your speech or whatever, or however you got everything across to the students that you were talking to. It was about that time, and then how you got to, okay, I think I want to do this. I think I want to help people.
So I was like, okay, I need to do something with my life. 2015 or so, I was connected with a wonderful, she's a friend now. Her name is Sarita Love of Success Junkie. And her son and my son was on a football team. And I just loved how she moved. She was always positive. And we were just talking one day and she was like, you have a story to tell. She didn't know anything about me. And I was just like, who told you? Like, and so we were just talking and I was like, I really want to do this. I want to, I always knew that I did not want to just work, and die. I knew I wanted to do great things. I always knew that I wanted to give back. I just didn't know how. And so I started thinking like, maybe I should volunteer because I've gotten this far. I'm like, I need to do something more. And so I remember reaching out to Lawrence Hall. How I did that because my middle son was in a mentoring program that was through Lawrence Hall. And I know it was all guys setting it up, right? So when he told me about the program that came to his school, he said, I'm going to get a mentor. They're going to take me to play basketball, such and such. I'm like, oh, that's great. And then I saw the program was affiliated with Lawrence Hall. I'm like,
Wow.
interesting. Maybe I should reach out to them and see if they need other mentors or volunteers. And so when I reached out, they were like, yeah, we always need, mentors and volunteers. So I went through the background check and all that. And then their event coordinator reached out to me. She was like, hey, you used to attend Lawrence Hall Day School, right? I'm like, yeah. She was like, we're doing our 100-year gala. Would you like to come speak? I'm like, about what? Because, I've always had a fear of public speaking because I stutter. And I'm like, what am I going to say? I'm like, let me think about that. And so I remember talking to Sarita, and she was like, this is a great opportunity. I'm like, for who? They're going to see me. I'm not going to be invisible. So I'm like, okay, let me face this fear. And I'm like, sure, I'll do it. Now, I didn't ask them how many people were in the audience. It was like over 100 people.
Wow.
It was so the funny part was it was in Harold Washington Library. This library I used to run, there was a library I used to run away to when they first started building it.
Oh.
And I used to sit there for hours. And I'm like, okay, God, this is not coincidental.
Full circle.
And so I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And then I'm like, what am I going to wear? Oh my God, I'm going to stutter. So that went into like panic mode. And I started having an anxiety attack. And I'm like, oh my God, they're going to see me. And so my godmom, who I call my mom, she was like, well, you're not invisible. I was like, yeah. So I was like, what do I write? And so they were like, well, just tell us your experience. And so I sat there, and writing is like, you don't have to tell me twice to write. So I wrote out my experience and what Lawrence Hall meant to me. And I sent it to the event coordinator, and she called me like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm like, what did you read? So I went back and I looked at it again. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. And so that's where, self-esteem and doubt comes in, because I've always kind of questioned, like, are you sure I'm a great guy? You sure you got the right person? And so it was time for the speech, and I'm like nervous. And when I get nervous, like my stomach's like, oh, I was like, oh my God, they're gonna see me. And what if I trip onto the stage? I had all of these unrealistic fears. Or needless to say, I didn't stutter.
You didn't trip.
I didn't trip, thank God. And I got a standing ovation, and it was like I looked like I didn't even look in the audience because I was that nervous because they have like the prompter where you can like see what you wrote, and so I'm like looking there and didn't look up. And by the time I was done, I looked up, like everyone was standing up and crying. I'm like,
Oh wow.
oh, and everyone was hugging me and like, oh my God. And I'm just like,
Amazing.
this is so weird. Like I felt uncomfortable. But then when I sat down and had that time to think about it, I'm like, huh, okay, God, you kind of smart. You know what you're doing. I think I'm okay. And so that was like an aha moment of, I want to use my story as a testimony. I just didn't know how. Because I'm like, well, obviously I need to do this more often, God. There's something to this speaking thing. How should I do this? And so that I wrote down like what I wanted to do. Like, and that's how Assignment Inspires came about, because I'm like, I used to send out text messages back in the day of inspirations all the time. And so I'm like, well, I love inspiring. Can I just turn that into a business? How would that work? And I just wrote down like what I love to do, what I was good at. Like I'm good at writing, I'm good at inspiring, I was always good at looking at a situation, trying to find the positive. And I'm like, so speaking didn't come along until maybe a few years after that. Because like I said, I was scared of public speaking because I stuttered, and I felt like I didn't have anything to bring to the table. Even now when I'm asked to speak, I'm like, okay, Holy Spirit needs you to show up and give me the words, because and they make sure I remember. But I'm always intentional that it's on point and it's on with a purpose. And that's how that journey started. And then I started creating affirmation cards of inspiration, because I was like, I want everybody to be inspired. And then through the affirmation cards, I'm like, I need something more profitable that people actually want to keep all the time. I'm like, oh, books. I love books. Everybody most people love books. And I'm like, let's start off with something simple. And so I already had the collection of poems, and I'm like, I'm gonna publish this for my birthday, which was in 2017. And I was looking at it. I sent it to my friend who's an author, and she called me back like, I finished. I'm like, I just sent it to you. She was like, it was really great. I was like, oh, for real? And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna publish this. So I created the cover myself. Like I self-published. I was like, I'm just gonna do it, because I felt like if I didn't do it, I would have got scared and not done it.
Yeah.
So I had to just do it. I hit
yourself.
Yeah. And that's where the journey began, with just speaking and publishing more books.
Wow. That's an awesome story.
Thank you.
And I love hearing it. A comment from the watch party. Pamela McDonald says, this is the first time I've listened to someone say, listen to what the child may be going through. She says she's worked in education for over 20 plus years, I think it is. The school was very diverse, but African Americans were still only 15 to 20% of the school population. I shared with teachers who were all Caucasians to not call the children bad, but talk to them. And most of them had a reason for their behavior, just like you said earlier. Yes. And 99% of the time, they had issues with something in the home or peer pressure. And she says, thank you. Thanks for that comment, Pamela. Yeah, I get it. Sometimes we just label them as such. Oh, they're just bad, and just leave them. No, figure out pull back the layers. There's something else there. Yeah, oh my gosh, that's good. Because somebody may have gone through the exact same thing that you've done, but they don't care about helping nobody else. What you're doing there. They could be, just bitter, and, allow that to dictate the rest of their life. Yeah, your journey is not for you. What you go through, guys, is not just for you. It's for somebody else. Right. So my goodness, the books came, the conferences. When did you actually get to the point? I mean, you that don't like to speak in front of people, get to the point of saying, I want to try and do conferences.
So that wasn't I didn't say that. That was God. That's my disclaimer. When people like, you're an international speaker, you have conferences. I'm like, God just told me that. Okay, that was God.
He knows. Right.
And so originally the books were written out as workshops. So the conference came before, or the books were written already, but they were not published. The conference came before the books because I had them written out as like workshops. I'm like, I'm going to do this workshops. I'm going to get into schools. And then I was like, okay, God, how do I do that though? Where do I start? And so I was waiting for God to give me the direction. In the meantime, I met Tennille. I remember coming to Tennille. I love Tennille. She's awesome. She's my editor, by the way. Shameless plug. And I was like, hey, you have a bookstore. At the time she had a bookstore. I'm like, I'm thinking of doing workshops. I want to come and see if I could do your bookstore. And so we were talking about it. And I was going to like turn these books into like the material that I would hand out at the workshops. Like sheet by sheet.
Okay.
And I was talking to her and she's like, the Lord just told me to tell you that you need to think bigger. It's not going to be workshops. It's going to be a conference. And I'm like, you didn't tell me that. I was like, what? Oh, let me pray about that. And so I said, okay, God, what do you want me to do? And I was thinking, I started to look at everything I had written and I was like looking at my laptop and all the papers. I'm like, okay, I can see how that can work. I can do a 1-day conference and then I can just like have them sign up for further things. So I originally was like a conference. So I thought about all the great speakers that I wanted to be a part of it, reached out to them. They said yes. I typed up the idea like one day, like the Holy Spirit said download. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I just typed it out. And the day was supposed to be December 19th because that was the day that my mother passed away. So I'm like, that would be great to have that healing conference on December 19th last year. I was minding my business again. God was like, go bigger. I was like, oh, okay. He was like, it should be 4 parts. I was like, do you see my bank account? Like, I don't have 4 parts of money. I've never done a conference. I was like, you sure you got the right Steiner? Like, I have these conversations with God. He probably sitting there like, this is my child again, Lord. And so I was like, okay, fine, I'm gonna go bigger. And so I looked at the 4 parts of the workshops, and I was just like, okay, so this could be this can be that, this, because I actually had already written it out in those 4 parts.
Oh.
See, when I'm creating, I just go with the flow and I set it to the side. I go with the flow until I know how it connects. That's how my brain works. It's like I just create, boom, next thing. And then God will come back and put it like I'll get from a different lens of how to put it together.
Yes.
And so I'm like, oh, I said, so do I launch all 4 books at one time? He was like, no, every quarter you launch a book and then you have all 4. I'm like, you smart. Okay, God. And so I launched the first one March of this year and it was like a success. And I was on the panel for the first one because I needed to like introduce it.
Yes.
But I'm not the speaker for my conferences. I pull great speakers who come and they're the speakers on the panel. So
Gotcha.
I'm just the face of it. Well, I'm not gonna say I am the face that God uses for it, but ultimately it's his conference.
Yes.
I just, I'm a human that I put the word out, and then I have great speakers that they say yes, and I'm like, thank you. And so it's always I'm always in awe of how God moves. So when there's pictures of me hugging people, as someone that may be crying or I can relate to, and I'm just captured in that moment. There's one that was circulating that my photographer, Billy Montgomery, had captured. We were praying. I was hugging my son. And I was just like, wow. Because he's there at every conference. He doesn't have a choice. He's 15. Where's he going to go? And I pay him, not a lot, but enough to know, like, I appreciate you. And my niece, she used to be there, and she would always say, is it going to be crying again? It's like, if the Lord moves people to cry, yes, they will be crying again. And so I'm in awe because now I'm planning out 2020 and he's having me take it on the road.
Beautiful.
So I don't have all the locations, but I have the dates already and the link of Eventbrite is up. So if people want to just pre-register, they can do that.
Yes.
And I'm excited because he's making it bigger and bigger. And so I'm trusting him because my account still looks the same, but he's making it bigger. So I'm like, okay, so that account you got up there is endless. So I'm trusting you. And I just do what he says does, and I move how he says move. And because
Mhm.
I know that he is the guy of the future, he already knows what it's supposed to be.
Beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful. A little station break. Tell us where they can, get information for the conferences, your books,
Yes.
website, whatever you want, how they can connect with you.
Okay, so my books are on Amazon.com. You just type in Listeiner Inspires. I'm the only Listeiner in the entire world. Once you type that in, they'll pull up all my books. Please post a review because reviews are amazing. Even if you have purchased it and didn't get it through Amazon, please still post a review. Also, info@listenerinspires.com is my email if you want more information about the conferences as well as the upcoming workshop series that I will be bringing to a ministry, corporate setting, and school near you. If you want to connect with me to have me speak, also at info@listenerinspires.com.
All right.
Wonderful.
She's on Facebook.
Yes.
I made the connection with her the first time we were trying to get her on the show. So I'm so glad we made this connection. What I want to do is actually segue. We have a spoken word from Elder Kevin McGee. He has a show here on Saturdays entitled Connections, 12 o'clock noon Central Standard Time. You guys make sure you connect with him on his show. But the Lord blesses him to pen a spoken word for the day's topic for Mind, Body, and Soul every week, and I'm appreciative. So we want to take a listen to that, and we'll be right back.
Lost in a black hole, no light, therefore no one can see the pain that you go through. But what didn't break you made you into the person that you are, stronger, wiser, no longer falling prey to the predator disguising themselves as dear loved ones. But what was meant for evil turned out for your good. Now, years later, you have become a vigilant advocate for others who are traveling on the road that you have already traveled, empowering them to take charge of their lives, proclaiming that never again shall they be a victim to suffer at someone else's whims. But you have emerged from your cocoon. Metamorphosis has taken place. No longer the person that you were, but you are fearfully and wonderfully made. God's creation, overcomer, survivor, conqueror.
That
was powerful.
That was powerful. That was very powerful. Thank you, Elder
Love
McGee.
it.
I don't know if you're still watching or not, but
I know, right? Snap.
I know, right? I could only do my left, my right won't act right, but it was good. It was very powerful. So again, we appreciate you for penning that for us. See you on. Thanks for Tanya Wells. My goodness, I haven't seen you in a while. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you all enjoyed that spoken word. You were able to hear it and connect with it. That could be you. You could inspire someone as well. And I again, I can't thank you enough for this time on today. I'm not done yet, but I just can't thank.
All right.
I can't thank you enough for just coming on today and sharing everything. Now, your conferences. Now, your niece asked you, "Is it going to be crying again?" Talk to us about talk to us about your conferences. What would one expect coming to one of your conferences?
Transparency, a safe space. There's a no judgment zone. I dress as you want to dress. I don't want people to feel like they have to dress up. They have to come a certain way. I say come with the expectation of being changed and healed in the areas that you need it, because everyone has different areas that they're dealing and struggling with. You might not speak up at the conference, but you will notice a significant difference within yourself.
Okay.
And I'm not just saying that to brag. Even when I'm in the presence, I'm always just amazed at the power of God. I'm like, man, that was amazing. There's food.
Oh yes.
Oh my God, she must be hungry.
There be food, usually courtesy of me. Once we take it out of state, I won't be cooking and traveling with the food, but there's always, my panelists are amazing. I always let them know transparency is key, being personable. I'll have vendors. There'll be time to network and connect with people, and just talk and have a way of having someone to like accountability, because you might link up with someone there that has experienced what you experienced, and you guys can afterwards hold each other accountable. um it's just a great, I enjoy it. I love seeing how God just moves in the audience, even with the speakers. You know how they share their testimonies of what they've even gone through up leading up until the conference that God has revealed to them to speak to the audience about.
Okay.
So it's important that transparency is always key, because how can one be free if you don't understand that someone has gone through what you've gone through?
Yes, definitely. How long is a conference?
From 12 to 3. So 12 to like 12:30 is like the check-in time. Get your food. So I feed people before they get poured into, because imagine you're in a conference and you're hungry, you're not gonna
You're not
listen.
going to pay attention.
So I think about myself, like I need to eat before, like I'm sitting there, and so they get to eat, get your visit the vendors that's there. There's usually different vendors each time. So the bulk of the talk is from like 1 to 2,
Okay.
and that's about an hour, because depending on how many panelists. And then from 2 to 2:30, I open it up for questions, because if you have questions, this is the time. And then from 2:30 to 3, we close it out in prayer. And then there's some mingling if people want to reconnect with the speakers. If they want to connect with me or other people, they have that chance to do that.
Okay. And so for now, it's been held in Chicago area.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is it like one particular spot you go to every time?
So no, so the one for December 28th, it will be in the Inglewood area. The location for now is private. Once you purchase your ticket, then we'll disclose it, because this is the final one. Dreams and goals, end of the year. Want people to come out and understand that you're going to leave with some type of plan for next year. Even if you just came in on the last conference, that does not mean that you're gonna miss out on your healing.
Okay.
You're gonna get something.
All right.
Yeah.
Now I'm quite sure that you pray. You probably pray, before your conferences and everything. Why was that particular location important to you for this last conference I'm just talking about?
God actually said Inglewood. I go where God leads.
Okay.
Like he has always presented spaces to me, and so I heard it in my spirit in September, like for this around the time I was planning a September conference, Inglewood. But I was able to be blessed with a space with Bethel House International Church, where we hosted. So he sponsors the space for the September one. But I kept hearing my spirit Inglewood. So I'm like, okay, God, you're gonna provide the space. I'm not gonna worry about it. You'll send it to me. And so I'm scouting out some spaces now there in that area. Only God knows why. I'm going where he leads and being obedient.
Beautiful.
I can see that's going to be big. That last one's going to be a big one for you.
Yeah.
And I'm just picking that up. That's why I asked you about the location, because you're not only thinking about those that you maybe have already been to your other conferences. You're thinking about even the people in that area and in that neighborhood too. So yeah. Let's see. What, you have a catering service?
No. Wait, did Whit just post? Is that Whit?
Whit just said something.
Wow.
Wow.
She's a Jill of all trades.
Lesteiner Light Bites.
Lesteiner Light Bites is my baby. It's in the incubator state. Okay, look at her face. Okay, look. Okay, let me
talking about food.
In my defense, I've always cooked, right? I love to eat. And I've always made food for like families. But the last conference, June before September, there was a hiccup with like food, so I had to like come up with something quick.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm just gonna make this and this, and it was a hit. And so my team, which Whit is part of my team, they were like, why are you paying for people to cater when you can cook? And they like it. And I'm like, because I don't know. And so for September, I made little mini mac and cheese. And so the concept is there's small bites that are fulfilling. Right. So I made mac and cheese in like cupcake size, and I made wingdings. And she's looking at me like she's like,
so good.
And they went like they were gone. I think I had one. I probably should have like put some aside for myself. And so my best friend was like, you should, because I used to do the food for the church. We used to do barbecues and we sold dinners there to fund the church. And so my best friend and we were like, well, why don't you just start selling food. And I was like, it's a craft. I want to save it for my family. But then God's been speaking to me like, you have gifts, use them. And I'm like, so it's in the incubator stage. I'm coming up with the menu because I'm all this full disclaimer, I'm not making vegan and gluten free, and there's not going to be special requests. Okay,
Can't eat it. You just
Oh
can't
well,
eat it.
this is
throw all my requests
this,
out the window.
this is to offend anyone, but I
Right.
want to do that food that like makes you like, oh yes, like and the food that I will cook
Comfort
for my
food.
kids. And
Mhm.
so will be healthy though. It won't like I use real butter, but I don't really use real milk because I don't drink milk myself. So I use like almond milk.
Mhm.
I use brown eggs. I use ground turkey for certain things.
Right.
But I love to cook and I love to eat, and so that will be something I will be launching probably within the next 2 weeks.
Okay. I mean, yeah, you need to do that. Well, I know you guys are laughing at me, but as
And
you're
the next
talking,
time, samples.
I'm thinking
Yes.
you just got to asking the Lord. He's telling you, okay, you need to make it big. You need to go big. Well, you asked him, how am I going to do it with this bank account? So you have to,
Mhm. Yeah, he told me that this morning too. I was like,
see.
so I have been
Confirmation.
like
Mhm.
struggling with it. I was like, but Lord, you like, oh, but I have the idea. I have it actually written out, like what I want to cook. The menu I'll have like some seasonal items, but the basics will be like the mac and cheese because there are
Okay.
sellers like the wingdings. My kids love my lasagna, and my kids have been my biggest critics. So when they love something,
Yes.
it goes like the day.
Right.
So like chili, certain things will be seasonal, but certain things will be consistent because
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Tell Whit I'm gonna get her.
I
for
got
that.
my eye on you. Whit already, I don't think Whit cares.
She doesn't.
She
She's just
doesn't.
supposed to be
She
out
said,
there.
she said it
will.
was so good. Don't downplay your gifts. I agree with
That's
you, Whit.
right.
I
Yeah.
agree because you never know.
Right.
You never know whose belly you're going to help. And no, let me stop.
But I got you for samples. I got you, ladies.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Should we follow you after the show? I'm so kidding. Well, kind of personally kidding.
But not really.
Oh.
Not really kidding.
Wow. As we wrap up today, Gwen, do you have any questions or comments you want to?
Actually, I
Say.
don't. I just would like for it to be repeated that her books can be found on Amazon.com. And if you want any information about, her workshops or seminars, the upcoming one in December, info at Lesteiner.
Yes.
Inspires.com. Go there right now. Go purchase her books. If you guys, want to reach out to her about information about maybe
Book club.
a book club or something that you can sponsor, whether it's at your
Awesome.
church or
Yes,
your
yes.
school or even at work.
Yeah.
Even at work.
Give her a buzz. Look her up, please.
And while you're talking, you want to go ahead and put it in the comment section her information on the live feed.
Oh, sure.
Are you able to do that for us, sister? Okay, as my sister's doing that, I appreciate you. Lesteiner, any wrap ups for today? Anything you want to leave us with? You've given us quite a bit.
I have. I want to leave you with 3 words.
Okay.
Surrender, obedience, and faith. Those are the 3 words that I live my life by. Those are the 3 words that when I get discouraged, when I downplay my gifts, or when I doubt myself, I remember to surrender to God, be obedient to His will, His purpose in my life, and to have faith that everything will come together for the good of those that love Him, and that is me.
Beautiful.
And that is you too.
All right. Me too. Angeline Lane, thanks for watching. I appreciate you for coming on. You may have to rewind because I know some of you are just not joining us, but if you would be so kind as to go ahead and replay today's session, you would not be disappointed in what you hear and what you receive on today. Your last few words kind of sparked something else with me because I was going to ask you earlier about after your first conference, did you have any doubts after that? Did you like, oh God, I wish it didn't go this way, or I wish this could have happened, that could have happened, but you just kind of summarized at the end, if you've doubted yourself or what have you. So I love those 3 words.
Thank you.
I love it, and I love you, and I appreciate you.
I love you too.
For coming on here and just giving us the raw. She's giving us the raw. So you guys make sure you check her out. Lesteiner Inspires. this I'm going to go and read all these poems in here, definitely, because they've caught my attention. They have my truth. Oh my God, the story untold. The tears keep coming. Oh yes, I'm going to go and take my time and read through this, and then we're going to make sure that we reach out and get this series that she has.
Yes.
Make sure you guys. December 28th is her next conference. And you guys make sure you go. And you did put the information. Oh, thank you. Okay, the conferences that are coming up. Look in the comment section. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
The conferences are a bit link. If Wit is
It-
still on, she should be able to drop it for you guys because I don't know about her. I'm horrible. But on Eventbrite, it's
Okay.
Healing is a Journey. The bit link is bit.ly/.
With help her out.
Yeah, Wit, can you help me out?
Because we don't want to send to the wrong thing. I think she had put it in one. She did it in one comment. I was
Earlier.
trying to find it and maybe pin it, but I can't find it now. So, Whit, if you're
I have
still
one more
on
thing,
there, if you
too.
can put it on there again, that way they can make sure that they get the information to be able to attend this wonderful conference. She's doing a great work. I hate that I couldn't get to the last. I think I was out of town or
Yes,
something.
but you'll be there
Yeah,
December.
yeah. I'm gonna plan on it. December 28th.
Get some food too. I'll put you an
Yeah,
extra
there you
plate to
go.
the
Yeah,
side.
she's trying, but I do want to come in and be a part of your conference
I'd
as
love
well.
to join you, sister.
Oh well, of course, sister. She put it in. What
I
girl? You are
love
just so
it.
quick. She's good.
I love her. She's so
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank you. We appreciate you. All right, so we're gonna get out of here. Thanks for kicking off my November here in Mind, Body, and Soul. She came to get caught in the net on today, and I appreciate you for taking time.
My
I don't take it for
pleasure.
granted. I don't take it for granted when individuals come in and share their journey with us. So, sister, thank you again.
Thank you for having me once again. It's been a pleasure.
All right, all right. Well, Earl, thank you for the time here. Intellectual Radio. I'm sorry. I laugh at my producer. He's our super duper producer, as I call him, Earl the other Winfrey. You all look him up if you're interested in the show here.
He wears a
look
cape.
look up Wanda B. They'll be glad to assist you here at Intellectual Radio. November is my month, guys. I may say it every week that I'll be celebrating 6 years, Mind, Body, and Soul. The day before Thanksgiving will be the anniversary, 6 years. So you all stick with us. We got some great things coming up. Some things we're doing. The Lord is blessing, opening up doors. So stay with us. And next week, we will be doing a remote show. So we won't be in the studio, but my sister and I will be doing a show on next week. And it might be the first time she's hearing about it, but that's okay. So we will be, we will come. I'm
It's
sorry.
remotely. That's all right now.
It is remote. We'll let you know what we're talking about on next week. Okay, guys. I'm out of here. Until next time, I want you to soar and get caught up with Annette.
Get caught in a net with